So then let's talk a little bit about go to market, because if you're talking about a 401k, you kind of gotta get the HR folks to offer it. You got to get employees to want it. So it's two very different buyers from my lens, but at the same time. So how do you build a strategy that serves both without confusing anybody while you're at it? But yeah, and by the way, minding your startup budget.
Yeah. Well, before founding the company, I had a lot of conversations with advisors. So these are financial advisors who specialize in advising companies on what fund options to offer in their 401k plans. And these 401k advisors, I would always ask them, how do you decide what fund options to offer on a lineup? And they would walk me through this process they follow as fiduciaries. They have all these different steps. And then at the end, they would pretty much universally tell me, or if a customer asks for a specific fund, 9 times out of 10, I'll add it. And so
Mm.
it just made me realize these 401k advisors, yes, they really care about fiduciary duty. They're going to make sure they follow their process. But at the end of the day, they want to keep their customers happy, right? It's a very commoditized market. They want to be able to differentiate if they can have something a little different, and they really don't want to lose their customers. And so then I went and I talked to HR managers and heads of benefit and asked them, have you ever requested a specific fund? And if so, why did you request a specific fund? And they all had stories of like, oh yeah, we had an employee ask for, um, like uh, a fund, they read an article about how we're all invested in private prisons. And so they asked if we could have a fund that doesn't invest in private prisons. And so I passed that on to our 401k advisor. So, I heard stories like that a lot from different HR managers. And I realized HR and benefits managers want to keep employees happy. If employees ask, they're going to pass on the request. And so what we do is we go at this market from both ends. We target both employees as well as 401k advisors. So what we've done is we've really tried to grow the social movement that already existed before I came along of people making those requests like those employees had been doing at Google and Microsoft and Amazon. And if you had stopped a random person on the street or let's say we're 4 years old now, almost 5 years old. So if 4 or 5 years ago you had stopped a random person on the street and said, hey, are you invested in fossil fuels? Most people would be like, I don't know, am I? I don't think so. Most people had no idea and had never thought about the fact that they're invested in fossil fuels. So we've done a lot of awareness building through campaigns like the virtual March to Retire Big Oil and Actors Retire Big Oil, where, really actually one of those people I was talking about as an early hire, the first person I called actually when I was thinking about starting Sphere is our chief creative officer, Doug Burnett. And he comes from a big ad agency background, but what he's really good at is getting millions of views on a campaign without having to pay a single dollar for an ad. And so we've worked on these campaigns and we've now brought in this other guy, Rob Bennett, who's just fantastic at kind of helping connect celebrities with causes that they care about. And with the power of Doug and Rob, we have been able to launch these campaigns where, for example, we helped over 500 actors sign an open letter to the SAG pension managers saying they want to get out of fossil fuels because they realize there's over $100 million in the SAG pension, Screen Actors Guild pension, invested in fossil fuel companies, and they're not okay with it. And they're not only asking for this, but they're also posting on social media and getting interviewed by the press with the message that we're trying to get our money out of fossil fuels, and you can too. You can shoot an email to your HR and try to get fossil fuels out of your own 401k as well. And so these are the types of campaigns we do to really spread broad awareness, and we've gotten over 200 million views on these campaigns. So that's how we grow the social movement at one end of that customer spectrum, the employees. And what we find is once people find out about this issue, oftentimes they really care. They can't stop thinking about it and they want to move their money. At the other end of the spectrum is the 401k advisors. And really our job is to make sure that when they get a request for a climate friendly option in a plan, they think of Sphere. And so we go to the big conferences that 401k advisors go to. We have a booth at the conference. We give keynote talks and we speak on webinars. And really the message that we share a lot with 401k advisors is the fact that the fossil fuel sector has had this long-term underperformance over the past 10, 15, 20
Mm.
years. And so when you're
Mhm.
serving people who are investing for the long term, saving for retirement, that message really matters to you. So we always get a ton of interest from the 401k advisors who are surprised to find out this information. They want to learn more. And so then hopefully when they get that request for a climate friendly option, they think of Sphere.